All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling a huge concept from the book Zazen called Karmic Obstacles. We're talking about the very first and maybe the biggest roadblock you'll ever hit on a spiritual path. So let's say you're ready to get serious. You want to make real spiritual progress. Maybe you're aiming for enlightenment or what's called a rebirth in a pure land. You're feeling motivated. But are you really ready for that journey? Because, before you can go anywhere, there's this one little thing you've got to take care of. You have to settle your debts. And no, we're not just talking about your credit card bill.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at that initial roadblock and a great metaphor for it. Then we'll get into why these debts are very, very real. We'll talk about who comes to collect, what the repayment plan looks like, and finally, the key ingredient you'll need, endurance.
Okay, let's start with that fundamental obstacle. The book explains it using a brilliant and, honestly, a very down-to-earth metaphor: emigration. Picture this. Any spiritual journey is basically an attempt to leave what Buddhism calls the Saha world, our everyday reality of struggle and suffering. It's like you're trying to emigrate from a country. You've packed your bags, you've got your passport, you get all the way to the border, and suddenly a group of people shows up blocking your way. They're your creditors, and they're saying, whoa, not so fast. You aren't going anywhere until you pay back what you owe. Well, in this spiritual journey, those creditors are your karma. Now, it's easy to hear all this and think, okay, karmic debts, got it. It's a nice philosophical idea. But the text is really, really clear on this point. This is not some abstract concept. These debts are profoundly real. There's this incredible quote in the book that just cuts right through all that intellectual chatter. People love to talk about emptiness and sound very profound. But the author's point is sharp and simple. When it comes to karma, your debts have real, tangible consequences. Sorry, everything is real. And this example just perfectly nails the point. I mean, just imagine trying this in your own life. You owe someone $1,000. They come asking for it, and you smile and say, oh, don't worry about it. Money is just an illusion. It's empty. How do you think that's going to go over? And this is the absolute key. Your debt is real because the person or the being you owe feels its reality. It's their perception and the consequences they can bring into your life that define the situation, not your fancy philosophical arguments. So what are these debts exactly? The text breaks them down into 3 types. First, there's money. It has to be repaid, sure, but it's manageable. Then there's a debt of life. This is obviously very severe, but it's finite. At worst, it's a life for a life, and then the account is closed. But then there's the third category, emotional debts. This, the book says, is the real trouble. Causing someone deep emotional pain creates a debt that can come back to haunt you over and over, making it the hardest kind of debt to ever truly pay off. So if you've got these debts, who exactly comes knocking on your door to collect? Well, the text explains that there are 2 kinds of creditors you're likely to meet. On the one hand, you've got your living creditors. These are actual people in your life who might swindle you or cause you pain. And while that's awful, you can usually deal with it through worldly means. You can call the police. You can get a divorce. But then there are the invisible creditors, beings from unseen realms. And these, the book argues, are way scarier because their influence is quiet, it's constant, and you can't just call someone to make it stop. And their effects are felt in really physical ways. We're talking about things like a streak of constant bad luck that makes no sense, or a mysterious illness that no doctor can figure out. Maybe you're just clumsy all the time, constantly bumping into things, or you feel this persistent brain fog. In some intense cases, it can even manifest as sleep paralysis. These are all potential signs that an unseen creditor is collecting their due. Okay, so I know this might be sounding pretty heavy, but here's the good news. You're not helpless. The text lays out a very clear, very practical plan for how to start repaying these karmic debts. Here it is, the 3-step repayment plan. Step 1, chant the Sutra. This is a powerful Buddhist text known for helping to resolve this kind of karma, and the recommendation is to do it for at least a year. Step 2, regularly release captive animals. It's an act of compassion that's believed to create a lot of positive merit. And step 3, which is absolutely vital, learn to endure all the hardships that come your way. Now, here's a totally fascinating idea. You might think this whole process would just be complete chaos, but it's not. The text says that Yama, the king of hell, basically acts as a cosmic debt manager. He's even described as humane because he doesn't just unleash all your creditors on you at once. I mean, that would completely crush you. Instead, he schedules them. They come in manageable waves.
And this is so, so important to understand. If you start a spiritual practice, chanting, meditating, whatever it is, and suddenly your life gets worse, don't you dare quit. It feels counterintuitive, but this is actually a fantastic sign. It means the system is working. Your creditors are showing up because they know you're finally ready to pay. It's part of the process.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most profound piece of this whole puzzle. It's the mindset you need to get through it all. And it all comes down to the power of endurance. The Buddha is quoted saying this: "When you're facing your destiny, all you can do is accept it. That very act of acceptance is endurance." Think about it. If you can change something with your own effort, it's not really destiny, is it? But when these karmic debts come due, the only way through is to endure, to accept it, knowing it's just the bill for your own past actions finally arriving. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, if you want to make real spiritual progress, you've got to clear these karmic obstacles first. Second, karma isn't just a nice idea, it's a real debt that has to be paid. Third, those emotional debts, those are the stickiest ones. Fourth, there's a practical plan you can follow: chanting, releasing animals, and endurance. And maybe, most importantly, remember that the hardships that show up on your path aren't random. They are scheduled repayments, a sign that you're actually on the right track. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Knowing that the journey forward means facing these debts head on, the real question isn't just whether you're ready to start a journey, but are you ready to start clearing the path itself?